Ladies and gentlemen, with Mark Ostrander and Grant Turner, I'm David Mirikitani. We are weighing in. We are brought to you by USA Wrestling, the national governing body for wrestling in the United States, and by Nike Wrestling. Go to athleteps.com for all of your Nike and USA Wrestling branded gear. Good morning, gentlemen. College season is here. This is for Mark and I, who've done this for a while. It's our favorite time of the year. And remembering when we were coaching, like Grant Turner is currently, this is it, man. This is the beginning of the journey. Obviously, Grant, you guys have had a ton of success here in the last 10 years, ton of individual and team national titles. Before we get into some specifics, I'll start with you, GT. Like, you got to be excited this week, right?
Yeah. I mean, the guys are sick and tired of beating up on each other. They want to go try to wrestle somebody else. So it's a great opportunity for us to go out and mix it up with some other guys. And yeah, I mean, it's really good. And then you get to see the progression either each week or, getting the kids to just get back out and compete again. So super exciting for them. And once again, a little bit less on the COVID restrictions and less worries for the kids.
Right.
Starting off this season. So super exciting times.
And Mark, you've done a great job of educating yourself on the freestyle and Greco and international scene. Obviously, that's why we had GT join us. And you and I have said privately, he's hit it out of the park ever since he jumped on with us. But this is your wheelhouse. This is where you have, I think, the most fun, Marco. And, you helped us crush the rankings when we would do them together. So you got to be amped that we're really where your bread and butter is, right?
Well, this kind of brings us back into when we were coaching, David, and I know Grant's still coaching, but it used to be you look so forward to that first weekend of wrestling. And we always went to open tournaments because you got to start actually explaining to the kids why you're doing what you're doing in practice every week. Why we tell you that you have to stay in position because you just got taken down 6 times by a guy in an open tournament that wasn't really that good. You just don't want to stay in position. So, I mean, it's time to be able to go in and say, this is what you need to do. And we need to start working on these things now because the season's only 4.5 months long. If we don't start fixing things, we're not going to be where we want to be at the end of the year. So that's why, to me, it was so much fun getting the season started because you got to start working on things to make your athletes better. And that's,
right.
You can't do that in practice sometimes.
And I'll just add on what you guys are saying. First of all, there's practice wrestlers and there's match wrestlers, right? Like you'll have guys that are world champions in t-shirts and then bums in singlets, and so you got to figure out who's good in those scenarios. My dad used to call it the readiness for learning. Like, let's say Grant and I wrestle and he had 6.5 minutes of riding time from riding me in legs. And he'd been trying to coach me for 2 months on how to get out of legs. He goes, just wait. And especially for us in open tournaments in junior college, but NAI too, like, you're trying to wrestle better. You're trying to wrestle D1, these other, for us, all 4-year schools. And, a guy like me should come into practice on, we used to have like a shake the rust out practice on Sunday and go, hey, coach, how do I get out of legs? Like, see, now he's ready to learn. So there's a bunch of stuff that happens there. Why don't we start with that? Let's just start with what the schedule is. Let me pull up. We'll do a little share screen here. Share and go to the schedule. Okay, so we start tonight. We're recording this at 9 Central Time on Monday, but North Carolina's in a 3-way or they're in 2-way duel with Life in Queens, Buffalo, Russell's, Wisconsin. Just highlighted a couple of things. So the Michigan State Open to me was always like when we were doing these rankings would be the first thing that shook stuff up. I remember Dom Demas was ranked number 1 and lost to Luke Pletcher in this thing one year and kind of just changed everything up. A lot of good teams there. Got obviously some selective duels where you'll see some changes. And then there's the Clarion Open, the Southeast Open, the East Stroudsburg Open. And then probably the biggest duel of the week is North Carolina at Ohio State. We won't get the NCAA Finals rematch of Sasso against O'Connor because O'Connor's up at 57, but 2 teams that are clearly household names. And so just this is going to lead us into the rankings. So I will do a quick summary of how we did it. And I'm sure this is what everybody else does, some version of this. We got this email every week, and you just go through each match, each event. A dual meet's a lot easier to go through than a tournament, obviously. And you go, okay, were there any upsets? That's all you looked for, were upsets, because it doesn't matter if Grant was ranked 1 and I was ranked 80th and he beats me in 4 overtimes. He still won. And we're not going to start pulling guys down for style points. Okay? So at least not this early in the season. So you look for upsets, and then we would have our own rankings in another Google tab. And I would put next to it like, hey, Grant was ranked number 1, David ranked 80th, and 14-0 defensive pin, David reached back, grabbed his head. And then when this was all done, then Mark, you and I would go through, I would assemble all the results by myself, and then you and I would go through and interpret those results and how we thought that should change the rankings. And I shouldn't say that's what everybody else does, but they have to be doing some version of that. They have to be looking at all the data and plugging stuff in. So anyway, let's get into it. These are the rankings. Marco, you were on assignment last week with the Railroad, so you missed us, but you said you watched. So let's give you the floor real quick on 125. It felt like I was cheating on you, starting this without you last week. So on 125, what do you think as you look at these rankings?
Confused right off the top of the head. I understand why they do what they do, why these publications are doing. Obviously, I agree that Arujau and Glory are 2 phenomenal 25-pounders. If I was ranking it, David, it would be Spencer number 1. It would be Courtney number 2. It would be McKee number 3. And the reason I would do it that way is because McKee was 3rd at the Nationals. The best Arujau has done is 4th. So you've got to give credit for guys at the national tournament. That's what we're doing preseason on, is what they have done in the past. And so when you've placed 3rd at the Nationals, the best I've done was 4th, you would start the season ahead of me. So that's something, then I would have probably did after McKee, I would have done Arujau and then probably Hildebrandt, because he was 4th at Nationals.
Hildebrandt's out, though. Hildebrandt's not going to be back.
True,
that's
but I mean, we got his name in there. So,
sure.
And then I would have done Glory after that, because Glory was 6th that year that he wrestled at the national tournament. That doesn't mean that I think that's how the season's going to end, but that's how I would do the preseason to put him in a position to, until somebody beats him, that's where he deserves to be.
Hard to argue with that. So what we've done in previous years is just pick, I think we'll simplify it because it's a lot to keep track of. Let's pick pick our finalists, and then let's pick a person that's not ranked right now in the top 8 that we think will place. We'll just rotate it. On my stack, it's me, then Grant, then Mark. So I'll go first, and then Grant can go first, 33, and on down the line, how far we get this week. I'm going to totally cheat. It's going to be super simple for me. I'm going to pick Spencer Lee and Nick Suriano in the finals, and I'm going to pick Nick Suriano as the guy that's not in the top 8 to All-American. And you can duplicate people's picks. If you think those are the smartest picks, GT's writing it down. So I like it.
You heard it here first, boys. It's going to go down on a hard copy in my basement, and it's going to get put up on the wall. So if there's anybody that says anything about this at a later date, I'll have a pen and paper down, and here we go.
Hey, I broke news a couple 7 weeks ago on something I should have. We are probably going to change the picture of our podcast at the Iowa Penn State duel, because we'll finally all be in the same place, and the picture should be all 3 of us. So I'm looking forward to that too. But yeah, so and you don't have to pick a champion. Just leave versus Suriano, and Suriano is my non-top 8 guy to All-American. GT, you're second. Go ahead.
So who'd you have as not placing?
No, I have a guy. We're not doing a guy that's not in the top 8 that will place. So I got Suriano.
Okay. I'm going to take Spencer Lee, Vito Arujau, finals. Spencer Lee wins. And guy that would place that is not in the top 8, I'm going to take Teskey.
There you go. Okay.
Oh, boy. I'm going to go with Spencer and Aruja in the finals also. And then I'm going to go with Camacho being an All-American this year.
Okay. All right. We got it. So, Mark, again, you didn't get to talk last week, 133. What are your thoughts here?
Well, what I've heard is that Sebastian Rivera is going to be at 141 this year. I know Flo did a thing and they found that out. They talked to the head coach and he will be at 141 and they're going to get their 41 pounder down to 33. So that's so I think he's going to be out. I would say my finalists are going to be Dayton Fix. Or do I get to go for? No, Grant's first. I'm sorry. We're talking about just the rankings.
Yeah. No, it's fine.
So I think that's going to make a difference with Sebastian being up at 41. I think they did a pretty good job at this weight, David. Overall, I didn't see any major complaints. So I thought it was pretty well done, to be honest with you.
It's an interesting weight where the number 1 seed at the Olympics is the number 3 preseason seed in college.
Yes.
Also, just via social media as of yesterday, Micic is going 141 this season.
No way. Are you serious?
Yep. He posted it because he wants to get bigger for international competition at 65 kg. So he will be spending the entire NCAA wrestling tournament at 141 pounds this season.
Well, I'll tell you what else that does for Michigan. That gets Dylan Ragusin in the lineup at 33. Because he too big for 25. Like when we did that fantasy stuff last year, I picked him on a couple of my rosters and he just looked like freeze-dried leftovers just, after right off the scale. So, okay. Now this gives you, here's what this does do, Grant.
141 got a little bit tougher, David.
Yeah, look at that. So it's going to be a lot easier, I think, to pick a non-top 8 guy to be top 8 because there's 2 people. What's interesting about this is, Grant, I think you and I said last week we had a hard time seeing somebody break into the top 8. But now there's obviously 2 holes. So, all right, GT, who are your finalists?
My finalists are Fix, RBY. And top or outside of the top 8 that would be in the top 8 is I'm going to take Philippi.
Okay. Mark.
Well, that was a good pick. I'm gonna switch it up. I'm gonna switch it up a little bit, Grant. Thanks a lot for taking Philippi. That was a no-brainer. But anyway, I'm going to go with RBY, and I'm going to go with Austin DeSanto in the finals. David's eyes just fell out of his head, so everybody get a picture of this. And then I'm going to pick Matt Schmidt as to be an All-American outside the top.
Okay. RBY fixing the finals. And I like how this kid wrestles a lot. I'll take Chris Cannon from Northwestern. I thought he had a really good tournament last year. So anyway, no need to explain why I think the number 9 guy would now be number 7 because finish in the top 8. Not exactly the bravest choice on my part.
Well, considering you lost 2 guys out of that weight, he's actually in the top 8. So
that's what I'm saying. That's why. Yes, I said who'd be. Yes. All right, here we go. 41. Let me set the table here because now we're all caught up. So Nick Lee is number 1. Jaden Ironman 2. Dylan Duncan 3. Wow. Chad Red 4. Real Woods 5. Alan Hart 6. Zach Sherman 7. Clay Carlson 8. Your round of 12 guys are Demas, Simon, Parker, Willits. Your round of 16 guys are Alirez, Alvarez, Gomez, and Trombley. And then some interesting names down the line. Dylan D'Amelio or Anthony Echemendia, Dusty Hone. Probably a lot more guys here to talk about, but we're just at the table. So I'll give a summary. To me, this feels super top heavy. I see a hard time anybody breaking into the finals. If I had a dark horse to make it through the finals, it might be Real Woods. Mark, you and I talked about him extensively last year where he wasn't even practicing because he didn't think they were going to wrestle. He came out and practiced for like 5 weeks, made the round of 12. GT, I think you and I were together when Ray Woods was just screaming at the whole stadium with Izzy, and he lost some crazy round of 12 match where he was winning and lost a coin flip scramble. Sammy Alvarez is an interesting name here, and Austin Gomez is certainly an interesting name, having retired and came back and transferred schools and moved up a weight. And now, according to my two cohorts, we're adding Rivera and we're adding Micic into the mix. You cannot pick those as your non-top eights because they would be ranked in the top 8, and they are ranked in the top 8 at a different weight. Okay, so
I don't know if that's true, but yes, we could pick them. They're not on this sheet, but
they're
also
on this sheet.
I think what it does is just made 141, in my opinion, the best weight at the national tournament.
We'll see. There's a couple other interesting weights, but okay. So Mark, you're first. Either your impressions and your picks.
My impressions is this is the toughest weight at the NCAA tournament. I just said that, so I'm going to hang on to that. Really, where do Nick Lee, Ironman, I agree they're top 2. I think you're going to put Seabass in at 3, and I think Micic will probably drop in between 4 and 5. I think it made it a lot tougher to be an All-American at this weight, obviously, especially if you're bringing in somebody. Ian Parker's wrestling off at 142 against at Iowa State.
Wait, stop. He's wrestling off at 141 or 149? 149,
I'm sorry.
Okay, go ahead.
Went up and wrestled off at 149. I'm back in the old days where it was 142. I'm sorry. That's just
okay.
I'm used to. And so he's moving up. I think the loser of that match is going to go down to 141. I just don't know if that's even possible. They're both pretty good size right now.
He's wrestling off Dagan at 49?
Yes.
Well, so Jared Dagan just had to pick which limb he'd want to go without if he was going to try to make 141.
I don't see either of them making 141, so I don't know what they're going to do there. I don't know if either of them have a red shirt. I would imagine they do not. So,
okay. Picks.
Picks, yes. I'm going to go with Nick Lee and Ironman in the finals. We're not going to pick the winners, but I would pick Ironman. So just going to get that out there real quick. And I'm going to say this will probably be a weight that nobody outside the top 8, because I can't use those other 2 guys. So I guess I'll throw Ian Parker, All-American.
Okay. All right. So hard to disagree with anything you said. I think that as we go through the weights, I think Jaden Ironman might be the guy first guy to have a chance to be a 5-time All-American. And I think he's placed 5-4-3-2 if I'm correct on that. So if he plays 1, there'd be a lot of things lining up there. I got Lee and Ironman in the finals, and I'm going to take a USA wrestling guy, a guy who's done a ton of stuff at that level. I'm going to take Andrew Alirez to come off the top 8 and then be an All-American. So, all right, GT, floor is yours.
All right, I'm going to take Lee and Micic in the finals.
I love it.
And then I'm going to take, outside of the top 8, I'm going to take a crazy, healthy Austin Gomez.
I knew you were going to pick him. I knew it. Oh, that's awesome. The picks are awesome. I love it. So Gomez, super dangerous guy, man. He almost won the duel for Iowa State, right? That 1 year where he lat dropped DeSanto.
Yeah, and to Mark's, I actually want to reiterate what Mark is. I think whoever is going to be preseason top 8, it's going to be hard to break into that. So you're going to need some, because even like somebody at 9 with Don Demas, he poses the kind of the same big point, inside trip, lat drop type moves. You're going to have to see, either somebody get upset. It's going to be crazy. So I think that way it'll be topsy-turvy, but I don't think anybody outside the top 8 has I would say a great shot at it, but yeah.
Right. 49, Yanni D, Sammy Sasso, Tariq Wilson, Yaya, Brock Muller, who I've heard from people at Mizzou, they're going to redshirt this year because Hart's a senior. Hart's going to go 41. Edmond's going to go 49. Josh Edmond, the kid out of Detroit Central Catholic, who just destroyed some people at the other under 20s when we were in Omaha. GT like that. It was like a November and a half ago, or maybe it was a year ago. Parco, the transfer from Fresno, Jaden Abbas, Bryce Antonian, world team member. Then Max, you're round of 12 or wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We missed a number here. Okay. So 9, 10, 11, 12. I'll fix the letters later. Your round of 12ers are Murin, Milner, Feinsilver, Lovett, although we're hearing rumblings that Vince Turk may be beating Max Murin out. And then your round of 16, Legend Lamer, Josh Heil, Mitch Moore, PJ Ogunsanya. And then Mikey Carr's a guy that people should not be sleeping on. And then you go down here and you've got the Kanan Storrs of the world, Keyshawn Clark, Dagan or Parker, Blockus. They got G Feller here, although I think there's a pretty good chance that Victor V could end up being in here. So I think I'm first. Is that right? Mark, you just went first?
Yes, I did.
Okay. All right. We'll change the rest of these numbers later. All right. I'm such a coward. First of all, Yaya Thomas won our fantasy league for us last year, Mark. So shout out to Yaya. That was the 25 seed, took third. Gotta love that. Tariq moves up a weight and certainly is long enough for probably 165. So 149 won't be a problem. This is another weight where it feels like it's not as deep. I mean, there's a bunch of All-Americans here, right? Yanni's a two-time champ. Sass is a finalist. Tariq's taken third. Yaya's taken third. Parco was fifth. Abbas was in the 7-8 match. Antonian was around a 12er. Murin was around a 12er. So I will go chalk at the top, Yanni and Sasso in the finals, and I will steal Mark's pick. I'm going to pick Vince Turk to be an All-American.
All
GT,
right.
GT, it's you.
All right. I'm going to take Yanni and Sasso in the finals. Outside of the top 8, I'm going to take, can you scroll down a little bit? Because I saw one of the names I was going to pick here.
Mikey Carr.
I'm going to take Van Ness.
Oh, that's a good sneaky pick. And that will have a big impact on, well, it's interesting what will be Van Ness. Okay, so Mark, I'm going to let you decide this because does the Van Ness pick, does he get Bo Bartlett also? And
absolutely, I do. Penn State, whoever it is.
Okay, so then that means I get Murin or that means I get Murin or Turk, right?
Sure, let's change all the rules and just do whatever we want.
I asked you, are you okay with it?
I'm fine with it. Just pick as many guys as you want to get into the top 8. I don't care. So as long as they come from a school that starts with the letter I, or they come from a school that starts with, what was his? Oh, P. So yeah. Between those two, yeah. Anybody from Penn State, anybody from Iowa, you're picking to be in the top 8. Yeah.
Hey, picking Iowa guys or Penn State guys to All-American is not the bravest thing we've ever done.
No.
Okay. No. All right. Marco, who are your impressions and finalists in All-American?
My impressions is Yanni going 49? I guess that's kind of my first thought. Okay. If he goes 41, which there's a good chance he will because he's not real big, then 141 just got even tougher. So I am going to go out on a limb here. And oh boy, I'm going to say Sasso for sure in the finals. Yanni's at 49. He's definitely in the finals. So I guess I will go with that. And outside the top 8, I am going to go with Blockus for Minnesota.
Okay, there you go. And he's the kid that originally started at UNI.
Yes. And he was ranked in the top 8 last year for quite a while. Had a couple tough.
I don't remember how long he was. You know, a guy that one of us should have picked is Ridge Lovett, right?
Yeah, probably.
I mean, didn't he make the Big Ten finals and then just not have a good nationals?
Yes. And I picked Michael Carr probably 2 of the last 3 years to do something, and it just hadn't even been in the lineup. So if he's healthy, I definitely think he could be an All-American without a doubt. Same thing with Cannon Storr from Michigan. The kid's really, really good. So, I mean, there are so many inches for these kids to be All-American. If one thing goes right, they're going to be an All-American if, they're able to finish one move. So it's going to be an interesting wait. My question is, David, what happens if Yanni goes 41? Who's going to move up? Somebody's going to move up because that weight class, I could see a Jaden Ironman making the finals at 149. I don't know who would beat him. I'm not even sure if Sammy could beat him at 149 with the skills that he's got. If you put Yanni back at 41 and you got Seabass and you got Michik, I mean, why wouldn't you as a team want those points of a finalist?
I wonder if OU would move Dom Demas up.
They might.
Yeah. Okay. So Mark, GT stepped away. Who are your finalist picks and off the board? You said Yanni and Sasso, right?
Who, me?
Yeah.
No, I said Yanni and Sasso. That's right. And then I picked Blockus from Minnesota.
Okay. There we go. All right. 157. I'll lay it out and then GT, you're first. 2 national champions and a world team member at this weight. Carr, O'Connor, Deacon, Teamer, Lee, Young, Humphreys, Quincy Monday, round of 12. Kendall Coleman, Franek, JQ, Mark's favorite name to pronounce. Wyatt Sheets, round of 16. Jacob Wright, the transfer, Will Lewan, Hunter Willits, Peyton Robb, and then some guys that have had some success. Justin Thomas, Patty Gallagher. I think a lot of people can't wait to see him. He came out of red shirt. Joe Lee moves down to 57 for Penn State. Let's see if there's anybody else down here. Ed Scott had a pretty good year last year. So GT, I feel like I'm going to just be so chalky. Impressions and picks.
All right. So, I mean, this weight is stacked as well. I think you can't, it's going to be really hard for a lot of these guys once again, that round of 16 blood round or the round of 12 on the backside it's going to be crazy. I think some of the top tier guys are kind of solidified top tier guys. They've just proven it time after time. But once again, the NCAA tournament is the NCAA tournament. Crazy stuff happens. As far as my picks are concerned, I'm going to pick Carr, Deacon for the finals. And then outside of the top 8 that would then be an All-American is I'm going to take Franek from NDSU. And
I like it.
Yeah, I think this is stacked weight.
So before we go any further, and if you want to change this, GT, you can. I'm looking at this. Number 7, 8, and 9 are really all number 7. They're all tied for 7. So we should decide, does that mean, I guess that means you can't pick Kendall Coleman either, because 2 of the 3 guys are in there at the top 8. So we'll just do it that way. All right. Mark.
I'm going to kind of go with what Grant said. I like Deacon. I think he will be a finalist. I like David Carr, obviously returning national champ. And then I'm going to take your pick, David. I'm going to take Wyatt Sheets to be an All-American because I know you were going to do it.
Such a jerk.
I'm going to do it first.
Sure.
But if I didn't take him, I would take Peyton Robb to be an All-American for Nebraska. But I'm going to go with Wyatt Sheets because I think that means you got to pick somebody else.
I don't have to pick somebody else.
Hey, you should. If I already know. So
I want to point out that, Mark, and if we were doing the rankings, Wyatt Sheets would be in the top 8.
Yeah, returning All-American.
So you said you listened to a podcast where somebody explained the reason why they don't have him ranked that high was because he was 34th in the regular season and needed an injury to get into the tournament and got into the tournament as the 33 seed. To me, I'm like, yeah, maybe, I don't care. He placed. And he placed on one freaking leg.
Yeah, I mean, he was on the operating table when they told him he was wrestling, right? Kind of.
I can't confirm that, but I wouldn't doubt that. So, all right. GT, I'm not happy because Wyatt Sheets was my pick 100. All right. I'll go. I don't know why I can't make that pick. Everybody's picking the same guys for the finals. So, what'd you say, Mark?
Make the pick. You're going to make it anyway.
I won't. On principle alone. I'm going to go Car Deacon, GT, those are my picks. I will make a different pick, but I want Sheets as an asterisk for my non-top 8. Let's see. You guys took all my guys, which is just ridiculous. Let me see if there's somebody down here Patty Gallagher. I'm going Patty Gallagher.
That's actually a good pick too. That was my other decision, but I didn't want to give you Sheets, so I took him.
Just on principle alone. All right, we're flying. I love it. 65. This is also a pretty dang good weight. Shane Griffith, Alex Marinelli, Jake Wenzel, Evan Wick, Keegan O'Toole, Travis Whitlake, Anthony Valencia, Demetrius Romero down from 174. Round of 12, Zach Hartman, Carson Karchla, who Mark's going to pick as a non-top 8 guy. We can just save that drama right now. Cam Amin, Luke Weber. Round of 16, Tanner Cook, Peyton Hall, Thomas Bullard, Izzy Olenek. And then Ninehouse. Julian Ramirez comes out as a freshman. That's exciting. Peyton Robb. So I'll set the table here. Shane Griffith. Well, this is certainly debatable, but I think Shane Griffith was the most influential wrestler at the NCAA tournament. And that's at a tournament where Spencer Lee won with no ACLs, and Cable Stevenson went on to be an Olympic champion. But this guy probably was the catalyst, along with a lot of other people donating and working behind the scenes, but for bringing attention to Stanford wrestling and the other non-revenue sports. So tip of the cap to Shane Griffith. I have a problem with where Alex Marinelli is ranked. Again, I go off the national tournament. If you go off the national tournament, you have to rank all the All-Americans ahead of him, and then he would come in. I would have him 9th. I'm sure everybody would be crushing me, but I would have him 9th because all these other guys at place. Evan Wick is a very interesting one because he transfers to Cal Poly for his senior year. He's out there with family. He's out there close to home. He's out there with Azevedo. And then I'm super biased, but we just had Keegan O'Toole at the Missouri Border Brawl, and he looks a lot bigger for 165. If you guys remember, last year was the free year, and he started the season at 157, when they could wrestle those double extra matches, and he ends up being, going all the way to placing 3rd at nationals. I think he was the 6th seed and lost to Wenzel in the quarters and came all the way back through. So this is 65. Mark, you go first. And I already ruined the drama of who you're going to pick on your top 12 for what you did to me with Wyatt Sheets. So
that's okay. Maybe I'll take somebody different. Yeah, I like this weight. I think it's a really stacked weight. I really do. So my finalists are going to be Keegan O'Toole, wrestling Alex Marinelli in the finals of the national tournament. I agree with you, David, that probably Alex should not start the season at number 2, but I have a feeling, I've had a feeling for the last 4 years, but I think this is going to be his farewell to college wrestling. And I think he will get it done this year. I just think he wants it so bad, and he is very talented during the year. He's by far the best kid at this weight when it comes to duels and the way he's performed. He just is, for some reason or another, he wrestles the best guy in the quarterfinals every year, and that person usually wins it. So, but I'm going to take Marinelli against O'Toole in the finals, and I am going to take Karchla as my outside the top 8 guy.
Yeah, and let's say this for the team race. How well Marinelli does is gigantic because, like last year, he was the 1 seed and scored 2 points. And that's what made those team scores way closer than anybody would have predicted if you go off the placement points. Okay, so it's up to me. I'm definitely taking Keegan O'Toole, And I'm going to take Evan Wick, and we'll call it the all cradle final. Whoever cradles the other guy first. I knew you were going to take Karchla. I think I should get Karchla for the fact that I called that you were going to take Karchla. So that's who I was going to pick. So I'm taking Karchla. Okay. Sorry. GT.
All right. I'm taking Shane Griffith, and I'm going to take Whitlake for the finals.
That's a great match if it happens, for sure. That's awesome. Okay.
And then I'm going to take Luke Weber.
You have NDSU having a good season so far. You got two guys. That's a big jump for those guys if they can do that.
Well, both of those guys had a pretty good tournament last year. And I think they were just kind of on the outside looking in a little bit. But give those guys another year, depending upon where they fall in the bracket, could be pretty dang good. I think Weber went up against Marinelli and had a tough match, or either that or Griffith. He was on the top side there. I think he was like the 9 seed or something like that at the national tournament last year. So
yeah. He lost to Griffith in the round of 16, and then Griffith beat Marinelli in the quarter. So you're great memory. Yeah.
So, and I also really, really, really like, I like this weight class a lot. There's a lot of proven talent at this weight.
For sure. And Weber blew the roof off the Big 12s last year when we were calling that, when he beat Whitlake in I think it was the semis. He did a great job in the match. That dude is strong, you can tell. All right, 74. So this is kind of the weight that I thought might be the best weight, and I think it's debatable, obviously, but Carter Sirachi, Michael Kemmer, Makai Lewis, Mikey Labriola, Logan Massa, Hayden Hidley, Ethan Smith, Jackson Turley, and then round of 12, Fine Silver, world team member Donnell Washington, Andrew McNally, the transfer, Austin Murphy, and then Foka, who's really good, Hastings, and we go down the line. Peyton Mako, who's pretty good, comes in at 17. Dustin Plott, who was banged up last year, is 19. So this is my argument for why this is the best weight. Sirachi is a national champion. Makai Lewis is a national champion and world champion. Logan Massa is a multiple-time All-American and U.S. Open champion. And Donnell Washington's a world team member. And then Kemmer is going to be a 5-time All-American, was the favorite to win it last year, and dominated Sirachi at the Big Tens. Labriola would be a national champion in a lot of different weights. Hidley's will be a 4-time All-American, I think, or 5-time All-American, moving up 2 weights. And then Turley had a great year as a freshman. I think this is a fascinating weight. I'm going to go Sirachi Lewis in the finals, if we're keeping track at home. And I will take, there was a name I saw down here. I'm taking Plott. Plott's super good. He was really, really hurt last year. I think they'll put him on a pitch count and not have him do a bunch of stuff, but I think he'll end up, this is a really hard weight to break into. I mean, this is, again, Jackson Turley was an All-American. He's ranked 8th. So you're going to have to beat somebody who is an All-American to get in there, but we got to pick somebody. GT, it's up to you.
All right. I'm going to take Kemmerer, and I'm going to take Lewis in the finals.
Okay.
Because I don't think they're going to go 2-3 throughout the season. I think
they'll separate.
Like Labriola or Massa or Smith, like something's going to get sorted out there along with Penn State. Like they're going to beat up each other a little bit too much. So I don't think Kemmerer will be 2. I think maybe like Lewis could get to either keep his 3 or 4, depending upon what's going to happen. But I like those 2 type of guys at that weight. And then I'm going to take Foka.
It's a good pick, man. He's really good. So, all right, Marco, because we'll finish this up and then talk about some things to wrap up the pod.
Yeah, let's talk about Michael Kemmer being in the finals of the national tournament. Let's start there. I'm going to pick Michael Kemmer, and I'm going to go out and I'm going to take Hayden Hidley in the finals. I think Hayden's got enough experience to qualify for the finals of the national tournament. And I think he gives a lot of people problems at this weight. And then outside my top 8, I am going to go with Donnell Washington.
Hard to argue with any of that, right? I think Hidley at 74 is going to be interesting because he looked jacked at 57 and he's not that tall. And sometimes those guys struggle with length. But Donnell Washington, on the other hand, is 6 feet tall. So the other thing we need to talk about are the U23s.
Before we do that, David, is Massa wrestling this year? I'm hearing that he's not wrestling.
I don't know. I originally thought he wasn't, but everybody had him ranked. This would have been something when you and me were doing the rankings, we would have literally called Sean Bourmet and just asked him. So I haven't asked, but I think we'll pop up soon enough. So we got 4 minutes left. GT, are you going to this or you get to stay at home for a week or two?
Nope, we will have our European staff at the U23s. Okay,
awesome. All right, here's our Greco roster. Lamont, Gregerson, Stepanian, Nutter, Moore, Holmes, Brackett, Woods, Boykin, Metz. So a couple, at least there's one NDSU guy there on that team. The ladies, Shilson, Heaton, Ronnie Heaton's wrestling everywhere. Hedrick, Sisenstein, Beck, Bruntel, Ortega, Fisk, Morano, Kylie Welker. Kylie Welker's wrestled in literally every single tournament that USA Wrestling has offered this year. and Emily Shilson, Ronnie. I mean, we're going to be talking about this, how well this ladies team did, I think, in a week or so. And then the names that most people know because of the college storylines: Pat Glory, Chris Cannon, Dom Demas, Brock Muller, who was a substitute, Peyton Robb, Labriola, Miles Wilson, Nino Bonacorsi, J.I. Yellow, Anthony Cassiope. And we get to see Cassiope with that new physique of his, just looking yoked as hell in those pictures we saw. So we literally have 1 or 2 minutes. Grant, I'll let you have the final word on this because you see these kind of things. How important is it for the athletes at this level? Obviously, winning is better than not winning, but just to get this level of experience in terms of seeing progress and building confidence and stuff like that.
Well, I think once again, all of these people, especially on the men's freestyle roster, even in the men's Greco, they're in world-class shape heading into the NCAA Division I season. Like, they've been putting together a training camp. They're going to Serbia to compete for the United States. So they're all going to be in great shape to start the season. And I think just getting that exposure and just being able to wrestle different styles of matches is such a great experience for, you know, the U15, the U19, the U23 guys. So I think we're going to, in about a week or so, we're going to be talking about how great our teams are doing over there. I think this is going to be a really, really good team on all sides. I think the Greco guys, I think they're a really good U23 world team. I think that they will do pretty well there.
Grant, I have one question for you. Of all the guys in the Greco here at U23s, which ones do you think have the best opportunity to come home with the medal?
I think Taylor Lamont, Alston Nutter, I think Nick Boykin are probably the 3 that I would probably focus in on. Sepien is also really, really, really talented. He was in the finals of the World Team Trials for the seniors at 63. He got beat by Sam Jones. So senior level U23, like up-and-coming kid, super talented. But I would focus Taylor Lamont at 55, looks to be a beast. Nutter, absolute beast at his weight class. And then, I would look at Nick Boykin as well.
I know I'm doing something right because when Mark asked you that question, GT, those are the 3 in my mind I was thinking. So I'm doing better on this. Yeah, and part of it is just having gone to all those tournaments. You see those guys' names deep in brackets, senior level and everything else. You know, and Nutter was put on a show recently at the last tournament he was at.
I mean, also don't sleep on all those other guys. I mean, Stepien was in the senior world team finals. Spencer Woods was at the senior level finals. He got second to Ben Provisor. Tommy Brackett's been around for a really, really long time. Just because he was a Northern Michigan guy and he's been in the world of Greco, not that he's super old or anything, but, just those guys are going to have a good showing. I think the Greco team at U23s, I think we probably bring home 3 medals. I would put
right.
If I'm guesstimating. So.
Well, that would be great. So we're out of time for this week. For Mark and Grant, I'm David. We appreciate all the social media support, all the friend support, and we will talk to you all next week.